Hey guys, I want to talk about celebrities who do bad things. And in particular, I'd like to talk about Vince McMahon, Walt Disney, and Steve Jobs. Although this kind of logic that I'm talking about can be applied to any celebrity really. All three of these men are controversial figures. They're all pretty much slime, but it just goes to show that some of the most evilest people in the world can create some of the greatest art. It doesn't justify them being evil, but it's just, I think, something in life about people. Whether you focus on the light or the darkness, some amazing creativity of art can be created. Channeling from either side. Now, I choose light, but others may choose darkness. That's just how life is. Now, a lot of people like to say to separate the person from the character. And their argument is that if you support their character that they created, then you're basically supporting evil people being celebrities creating entertainment. This is only true if A, they're still alive, and or B, they're still doing stuff. And in the case of many celebrities, some of whom are still alive, but for the ones who are dead, really doesn't matter anymore if they're dead. All we can do is learn the lesson about trying to notice bad things that people are doing. When someone like Vince or Walt Disney, there's been a lot of horrible rumors about Walt Disney, and I think they're probably true. And the same thing with Vince, and the same thing with Steve Jobs, although he's not as bad as the other two. Especially in the case of Vince McMahon, I am not going to allow the dark deeds of Vince to ruin my childhood of watching him during the Attitude Era. I won't allow that to happen because it inspired me, and I won't allow what he did to ruin my enjoyment of wrestling. I loved him in the Attitude Era. I loved the storylines they did with him. I even loved how he wound up being the leader of the Ministry of Darkness. I loved his character in WWF. If I allow myself to separate the person from the character, then that means that Vince does not win. I'm turning a negative into a positive. And that's how everyone else should think of it too, I think. Another reason why it's important to separate the person from the character is because when someone does that, it's a sign that that person can realize and understand and respect the fact that people have a lot of gray area in their lives. Where, I think the average person is a nice person and a good person, but there are people out there that do a lot of bad things and a lot of good things. And they're a walking contradiction. And that's how they live their lives. And these kind of people, a lot of these kinds of people are entertainers because artists are crazy people. People who create things are really nutty, and that's just the nature of being a creative kind of person. The problem is that too many artists and entertainers, they take advantage of situations, and that's not right. They just get a little too crazy and then start acting like disrespectful people. And that's not cool, not in my view. But art is extremely important, more important than you may realize. Art gets people out of depression. Entertainers get people out of depression. People who make jokes, people who make TV shows, people who make movies, they bring life to people. They inspire people. People take a lot in from watching a movie, from watching an actor, from reading a comic book that someone created. People feel like their life has purpose through entertainment. And it does. Now, we don't need to have entertainment to have purpose. But my point is that the inspiration it gives us allows us to do everything, pretty much. It allows us to think differently about situations. The problem when analyzing, hearing rumors about bad things celebrities do is most people actually look at the bad in people. That's what most people do. And they focus in on the bad of people, especially if you don't know them personally. That's what most people think. But you're supposed to be thinking about the good in people. You're supposed to be finding and looking for the good in people, not trying and looking for the bad in people. It's important to investigate people who have rumors of doing bad things, and it's important to have justice in the world, but all these people, Vince McMahon, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, other celebrities, at the end of the day, they are still human beings. even if some of them are really bad people or evil, they're not monsters. So they're basically just worse than an average good person. They're not monsters. So people shouldn't be viewing them as monsters. People get a little too emotional when it comes to talking about bad people. As a Christian, I believe that we're supposed to love our enemies, not just the nice people. And it's important to do that, I think, because the lesson is that ultimately, deep down, even if you don't feel like you can relate to a bad person, at the end of the day, you actually do. Even if it's a few things. Why? Because you're both still human beings. That's why. I feel bad for bad people. I don't damn them forever. I may joke around that I do, but I feel bad for them, for the most part. Because a lot of bad people are really creative people. And I feel bad for them because something about them tortured them in the past. And it led them to turn into the kind of evil person they became. So I feel bad for them. I feel bad that they can't see the light. I feel bad that they ruin their legacy, or a part of their legacy, not their whole legacy, like I was saying earlier. But I feel bad that they just weren't able to find that kind of peace that good, decent people have. Because that one thing that was torturing them, they just didn't have anyone to remove that from them. And some people can't find peace in their lives. And what they do is they'll just double down and they'll channel in on the darkness. Because people can relate to being moody, to being distant. People can relate to sadness. Good people can relate to sadness too. But it's what you use with the feeling of being sad. It's what you use your mind with being sad. Now, someone could be sad and then rob a store and then hurt some people, and that's bad. But another person could be sad and angry, and they have some kind of peace where they can say to themselves, I'm not going to go berserk and hurt anyone. I'm just going to sit here, be sad, be angry, be jealous, and I'm going to be strong enough to move on, to still try to be a nice person and stop doing the bad things I've been doing. But certain people in this world, like Vince McMahon or other people, don't have that kind of peace of mind. And that's pretty sad. Another problem when celebrities do a bad thing these days is the reaction that comes from YouTube or social media. It's a bit too reactive. It's always negative without hearing all the information first. And nowadays, like it used to be in the old days, if a video was entertaining, then people would watch it. But now, people of YouTube, because of the algorithm and shit, now videos that are super dramatic and really shocking and tearing someone down, those get views. Those videos get clicks. People want to see negative drama about celebrities, about someone. I don't know. I think some people are a little sick, and it's like a conditioning kind of thing that people are now into, and it's pretty bad. And I'm not saying everyone who feels this way, who clicks these videos, feels this way, but I think some people feel like they're superior now. Oh, like I can sit back and I can watch someone be burned at the stake. I can watch someone go to court and go to jail and feel better about myself. Ugh. This problem is particularly evident in Pickle Boy, Kid Behind a Camera, and I love him for what he gave YouTube because he did do a lot of amazing things with Angry Grandpa's dad. But ever since his dad passed, all his videos have been about drama. Everything has to be sad and bad, and that's how he makes his views. But what Michael fails to realize is that, yeah, like if you say something dramatic, your video might get a click. It might, or it might not. But people really aren't clicking the videos to see drama. They're not really clicking it to see the drama. What they really want to see is something funny going on when they click the video if it's a drama video. People want to see something amusing happening in the video. This is something Michael failed to realize. Like, if you look at a lot of the old Angry Grandpa videos, like the video would be something like Kitchen Disaster or something like that. And yes, it was entertaining to see Grandpa destroy everything. But it wasn't sad. It wasn't dark. It was just funny. It was entertaining. Yes, like, it was funny to see Grandpa in tough situations. Why? Because it was great to see his reaction. Because his reaction to dramatic stuff was funny. It was funny. The comedy is why people watched Kid Behind the Camera and Angry Grandpa videos. And Michael has failed to realize that. And he keeps fucking making videos where every video has to be something horrible that happens. It's not why people watched your channel in the first place. It's like bad vibe gossip, pretty much, trend of the 2020s. And it's not good because you're sending out bad negative energy into the world with all these fucking dramatic, dark videos. Yes, people will take whatever they want with it, whether it's positive or negative, but you keep making all that stuff be like a chunk of YouTube, then what you're doing is you're making the world more sick. You're creating more of a negative aura on entertainment, where now I'm afraid that the future of entertainment will be like, oh, well, if it's entertainment, it's got to be bad and dramatic. Not fun, not funny, not something lighthearted, but something horrible, dark, sleazy. Bleh. It has to be evil. Evil is bad. As entertaining as it is to watch in like a horror movie or a metal album, it's bad, okay? And it shouldn't be encouraged with all these fucking videos. And then there's these creative people that wrote for wrestling and were involved in wrestling from back in the day, now making all these videos about how bad Vince is. Frickin' Dutch Mantel and Eric fucking Bischoff. The problem with those fucking videos is that these guys resented Vince, and now this is like their way of getting revenge on him by making these videos. And they're using serious bad shit to get views on YouTube for their stupid fucking wrestling channels. Your channels already have views where people want to listen to you talk about wrestling. Why do you have to just focus on all the negative shit? Isn't it kind of disturbing and disgusting that these people want to make videos about Vince? What kind of sleazy video could we get people to click on about Vince McMahon? How many views is it going to get? How many likes is it going to get? Isn't that disturbing? These are serious issues with Vince fucking McMahon. So the intention behind these people making these kind of videos slandering Vince McMahon is disturbing. And it depends on what kind of video about Vince it is. Like this video I'm doing here is not like those. And now there's all this talk that since WWE is going to Netflix, they're going to try to literally erase Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon from all the videos. Now that would be interesting, right? That's why save your DVDs, because they're not selling DVDs anymore. WWE is done with DVDs. That stuff with Vince and Brock is my fucking childhood. And just because they fucked up in their lives, that doesn't mean that I should allow them to fuck up my childhood, which they were a part of. So I'm not going to allow them to fuck up my childhood. Just because they fucked up their lives doesn't mean that I fucked up mine, or any of the other wrestling fans for that matter. Plus, that's another thing. Their legacy of Brock and Vince, they're in videos, lots of videos, and they did a lot with them in the videos. And so, that's another thing about videos is that whether someone's dead or alive, it's like, make your decision on whether you think they're a bad person or not, like Bill Cosby or whatever. That's cool. It's good to think about the morality of people. It's important. It's important that bad people don't get away with doing shit. But at the end of the day, whether they're in jail or whether they're dead or away from the thing, it's still a video. And the video is not going away. I mean, it could. Why waste the video? Why waste the years of joy and entertainment that inspired people for generations? Like the fucking Cosby Show. And all the videos of Brock Lesnar doing wrestling matches, Vince McMahon being his character, all that shit. It's on video. Why ruin all of that enjoyment? Why? The video isn't going to change. Nothing's going to happen in the video where Vince is going to do something really horrible in the video. Or Brock's going to do something heinous in the video. Or Bill Cosby. In all these videos of Vince, Brock, say Bill Cosby, or whoever, they're playing a character, and their character is just the character in that show. So you enjoy the show, you love the character and the show, not the real life person. Not anymore, at least. Depending on your point of view, of course. So liking the memories of what they did that was positive is not a bad thing, because you're actually seeing the positive stuff in them, even though they're bad people. Yes, like Vince, you could argue is a scumbag if you want, but this scumbag also paid a lot of people a lot of money, and he created a lot of amazing stuff in wrestling. Storylines, videos. So he seems like one of those people that I mentioned earlier who does a lot of horrible shit and a lot of great shit. And here's my thing I'm gonna leave on this final note, is that people want to remember these figures in the memory of how they remembered them before all their dirty laundry emerged. People want to remember them as they remembered them. And why should you deny yourself that? Why? It isn't bad. It's not immoral. If you decided whether that person's bad or good in real life, then you're working on your morality. But to say a video they did or a movie they did, that movie or that video or whatever, that thing's immoral? Not really. All the stuff behind the scenes, yeah, definitely. Because that's the person in real life. But the video is different. I'd rather pretend to remember these people in the way I liked thinking about them in the past. I prefer that. And as long as I acknowledge what they were in the real life, then I think that's being a good moral person. Tom Hanks, for example, is a very shady character. I think he's an Illuminati guy. But everyone loves him because most people don't know about the dirt that he has. And I won't talk about all that in this video. But what's ironic is that he said a brilliant line in the Saving Mr. Banks movie where he played Walt Disney. I was already saying how Disney was bad, and now you have a bad person playing a bad person. And he also played Mr. Rogers, who was rumored to be a bad person also. So do the math, guys. It's all symbology. Anyway, but ironically, extremely ironically enough, he still had a brilliant line in Saving Mr. Banks at the end of the movie, if you guys remember. He was talking to the author of Mary Poppins, and she said, "You're ruining my movie, you're ruining my book, my story, because you're making it all cheery. And my story is supposed to be sad and dark and depressing." And she was upset because he changed the character, the father figure in Mary Poppins, to be this nice guy. And meanwhile, in real life, he was a prick. And what I loved about the scene at the end of Saving Mr. Banks is that Tom Hanks says to her, "I had a horrible childhood. My father abused me pretty much. And I don't want to remember him in that way," he said. Something like that at the end of the movie. That's what he said to her. And it convinced her that maybe this is a better fit for the movie version of her book, of Mary Poppins. Just what he said really stuck with me. Walt was turning something negative into a positive. At least the character of Walt in that movie. Probably wasn't like this in real life. Okay, but he was turning a negative into a positive by not allowing the bad memories of that person to not think of it in that way. So that that person's life is not tortured forever until they're dead. It's a very good lesson. Same thing goes with Vince McMahon, Walt Disney, well, like I said, Steve Jobs, the guy who played Hyde in that '70s show, fucking Bill Cosby, yada yada yada. Same thing is applied to all these people, is we don't want to remember it that way because we're going to take something negative and turn it into a positive, and we're going to learn a lesson from it. So my point is, in this video, ultimately, is that don't feel like you're an immoral person or a bad person if you enjoy watching Vince McMahon, the character in the old WWF videos. That's my point. Don't think you're a bad, seedy person or anything like that. You're not. The same thing with if you love The Cosby Show. I still love The Cosby Show. The thing is, be confident in yourself. You know yourself. You know what your morality is. And just respect yourself enough to understand that your morality is not in question if you still love The Cosby Show and if you still love watching the old episodes of the Attitude Era with Vince McMahon or the Ruthless Aggression era that he was in. It's not immoral. I just want to say that. As long as you recognize the kind of person they are in the real world, then it's fine. Then it's completely fine. Just remember, it's a disaster for their lives, not ours. We didn't do anything wrong by watching their programs they created. They're the ones that are wrong. And it's sad because through these shows and movies they created, we built a connection with them. We related to them. So I think it's okay to make videos about bad people and talk about, what they did and stuff. But it's all about the intention behind it. If the intention is, if it's just for clicks, then fuck you. But if you're doing it for a completely different reason, then I think that's okay. Now, I think Eric Bischoff is funny when he does his interviews because he gets so angry. And I don't have any ill will towards him or Dutch Mantel. I'm just angry that they're making these kind of videos and the way they're doing it. And I already explained myself. But the thing is, even though Eric may really feel this way about Vince, like he bashed him in a video I saw with Conrad or whatever, even if he really feels this way, I just feel like there's a part of Eric that's doing it out of spite. Because in the past, everyone always acted like Eric Bischoff was a worse person than Vince McMahon. And everyone really hated Eric Bischoff and thought he was a scumbag and he was called every bad name imaginable. And then meanwhile, Vince always got the pass. because he won the battle against WCW, because people said Vince was a nicer person than Eric Bischoff. And now that all the dirt's come out about Vince, now Eric's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, he's a total scumbag. Yeah. He's like doing it to make himself sound like he was a more successful person in the wrestling industry than Vince McMahon. And he wasn't. Sorry, Eric, for all your triumphs, and you did have some. You weren't more successful than Vince, I'm sorry. And you shouldn't hold a grudge towards wrestling fans about that. That's like a separate thing, you know? That's my theory, okay, about Mr. Bischoff. I don't know if that's true, but I get a vibe that might be true. I don't know. Vibes are hard to tell sometimes, though. You can't fully go on a vibe, you know? Anyways, guys, I think I've said enough. I've spoken long enough about this. So I hope you have a fantastic day, week, month, year, a fantastic decade. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again real soon.